Well, as many people are looking forward to Epic Universe opening next year and seeing all the things that Universal is doing and will, in my opinion, continue to do even after Epic Universe opens, the question many people have been asking, what's Disney doing? Are they doing enough? And, you see some different things back and forth, but the really consensus amongst most people, even Disney fans, is that Disney either doesn't need to or that the things that they announced at D23 are going to be enough to basically counter Epic Universe. And, who's right and who's wrong is something that will be determined over time here. But we do have an article here that I found from Cinema Blend that is, from the headlines, is taking a kind of I'll just say unique approach to this, and probably something I'm going to disagree with. So I figured let's read through this and give some thoughts on it, because I have a feeling I'll have some strong opinions about this. So that's what we're going to do in this video. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And again, this article is from Cinema Blend, and the headline is, Disney World fans feel the park isn't doing enough to compete with Epic Universe. Here's why they're wrong. So let's get into this. It says, every year is a good year if you're a theme park fan, because every year there's something new. Every theme park in the country has to keep delivering new things in order to try to keep guests to come back or show up for the first time. However, 2025 is going to be the biggest year in recent theme park history, because not only are we getting new rides and attractions, we're getting an entirely new theme park. With 3 full theme parks, Universal Orlando will come one step closer to matching the size and scale of Walt Disney World. Now, many people would argue they have 4 parks if you're considering Volcano Bay, which, it's a toss-up. It's the best themed water park I've ever been to. I don't really care much for water parks, but it is a great water park. So I suppose technically you could say Universal has 4, and if that's the case, Disney, I guess, would have 6, but more like 5 because they alternate their water parks. But it's kind of arguing semantics there, but I digress. It's been suggested that Walt Disney World simply isn't doing enough in 2025 to compete with Universal Orlando, and that Disney needs something big to go up against Epic Universe, but that's not the case at all, and here's why. It says Disney World has added major attractions over the last few years. Disney World may not have any e-ticket attractions coming next year, or for many years coming, but part of the reason for that is it's opened multiple attractions of that scale over the last several years. Post-pandemic, we have seen Walt Disney World open Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot, as well as the incredible Tron Light Cycle Run. I don't know if I'd call it incredible, but it's a good ride. On the smaller side, we got Remy's Ratatouille Adventure at Epcot, and Disney World just opened Tiana's Bayou Adventure, an incredible evolution of the log flume. I don't know about that one there. I have a feeling this is shading a certain way. But let's also not forget to mention Universal opened Velocicoaster, which many people who are coaster enthusiasts think that is either the best or one of the best roller coasters out there. For people who visit Disney World often, like Florida locals who live nearby, or people like myself who visit as often as possible, all this may already seem like old news. That's simply not the case for your average guest. Even the stuff that's a few years old is still new to most people. It doesn't matter if Walt Disney World hasn't opened a brand new e-ticket attraction in 2025 if you haven't ridden the ones they opened in 2022 or 2023. Well, are they going to care when it's 2026, 2027, and 2028 when the things that Disney announced aren't open? Because then your newest ride would be Tiana's Bayou Adventure that has not really been, I don't think, gone over great. I guess some people do like it, but I don't think the impact of that ride was what Disney was hoping for. It says Disney has plenty of new stuff coming in 2025. Walt Disney World may not have a brand new theme park or even a new land opening in 2025 or a new ride, but it's not like the resort is taking the year off. There are plenty of new things coming to Disney World. In fact, taken all together, Disney World is adding the equivalent of a major new land. Oh, I have got to hear this. What is he talking about? Magic Kingdom is getting an entirely new nighttime parade, Disney Starlight Dream the Night Away. Okay. That's not a ride, but yeah. I mean, people have been asking for a nighttime parade at Disney for a long time. It seems like Universal finally has forced Disney to do the thing that many people have been asking them to do, but okay, that is a thing that they have coming. Fans have been clamoring for a new nighttime parade at Magic Kingdom for years, and they're finally getting it. Adventureland will also see a Pirates of the Caribbean themed tavern opening late in the year. Epcot will see its own lounge open next year inside the iconic geodesic sphere of Spaceship Earth. It should be the perfect place to watch fireworks. We'll also see a brand new version of the popular Test Track attraction that is looking to impress both fans and those nostalgic for the original World of Motion. I mean, essentially, they're just kind of redoing Test Track, but it's still Test Track. It's not really a brand new ride there. At Disney's Hollywood Studios, a new show, Disney Villains Unfairly Ever After, will bring several classic Disney villains together in one place. We'll also see a brand new version of The Little Mermaid, a musical adventure with new songs and new stage effects. And not to be left out, Disney's Animal Kingdom will be debuting a brand new movie underneath the Tree of Life, Zootopia Better Together. Certainly, a brand new lounge or a revamped existing attraction are not on the same scale as a brand new theme park, but each of these things is good and a net positive to their respective parks. Disney World will be bigger and better placed by the end of 2025 than it was at the beginning. But he argued that this was the equivalent of a new land. I mean, yes, Disney's going to have shows and parades, and they're opening lounges. These are all things that they can open relatively quickly. These are not anything, at least in my opinion, that is going to pull people over from Epic Universe to go check out shows and parades and lounges. I mean, especially during a time period when Universal is trying to get people to stay there for 3, 4, 5 nights, where, you know, again, I've said this many times, typically Universal has been an add-on experience to people who go to Disney World. They'll go to Disney World for 4 nights, go to Universal for 1 to 2 nights, or 2 days, however that is, and then that's kind of how it goes. Universal is trying to flip that. So by them opening Epic Universe, it is going to impact Disney. Now, these things that they're opening are things that people have wanted, and I'm not saying that these things aren't going to be popular on some level, but again, these are not big enough things to pull people over from a brand new theme park. I mean, I don't know anybody that's going to be wowed and be like, oh, we have to go to Epcot to check out the new Test Track versus going to Epic Universe. Same with a lounge, same with a parade. But you can get a lot of these people who are already into, you know, locals that are into the Disney, you know, going to Disney parks, the Disney brand. These are things that will play to that audience, which is not a bad move. But the argument here, he didn't even finish. It's not anywhere near a new land, and it's not anything equivalent to Epic Universe opening. So, I mean, he did say that, but he also made it seem like that it was the equivalent to a new land coming. Says you can't compete with a new theme park anyways. Okay. But at the end of the day, the simple fact is Disney World isn't trying to compete with Epic Universe because you can't compete with Epic Universe. It's a brand new theme park, and short of Disney World building its own brand new theme park, anything they did would be overshadowed by Epic Universe. It honestly makes sense for Disney World to do a little less in 2025 because competing is folly. But he just argued they were doing a bunch. If Disney World is showing any indication of not investing in the parks over the long term, that would be one thing, but that's not the case. Over the next several years, we're getting a new Villains Land and Magic Kingdom, a Monsters, Inc. land at Hollywood Studios, a revamped Frontier Land, that's one way to put it, a new Tropical America's land at Disney's Animal Kingdom, and who even knows what else. The idea that Disney World needs something particularly incredible during this particular, he loves that word, year is nuts. The theme park business is a marathon, not a sprint. Well, it is a marathon in terms of Disney constructing things because we've already seen delays with what they want to do in Frontierland and also Monsters, Inc. That one, who knows when construction there is going to take place as they're taking out Muppets. We've also seen delays with the permits with Tropical Americas. And again, you're not going to see any of these new lands that they announced at D23 open, in my opinion, till 2028 and beyond. I don't think Villains Land happens until closer to 2030. I mean, these things are going to take a while to come around. So it's a marathon in that sense. I do agree there. When it opens next summer, Universal Orlando's attendance will see a significant increase. But the fact of the matter is Disney World is not in any major danger. Don't know about that. While vacationers might be making a trip to Florida specifically to experience Epic Universe, there's a pretty good chance that a lot of them will stop by Disney World at least for a little while. And Disney World is still Disney World. It's still bigger and has more to offer anybody who is looking for a theme park vacation. Some experiences can only be had at Walt Disney World. The idea that everybody vacationing in Orlando is going to run off to Epic Universe and never visit Disney World again seems a little short-sighted. That's not an argument anybody's making, though. I mean, that's a straw man argument. The idea of that, like, Universal is going to see an increase in their attendance. Disney has come out and said that they think that they're going to see a boom in their attendance from Epic Universe. But if you look historically, when Universal opened the Wizarding World lands, Universal saw a big increase in their attendance, 34 to like 39% increase in attendance during those time periods. Disney in the short term saw a decrease in their attendance. Now, it was only like 1 to 2%, somewhere around there. And then years later, it kind of bounced back up when more things came open and also the economy opened up a little bit. But this idea that like Disney is just going to benefit from Epic Universe when on the smaller scale, when the new land opened and Universal wasn't as established as it is now, and that still hurt Disney. I just don't see how that is going to make Disney's attendance increase, especially, which I'm sure he's not going to get to, which is during a time period of all this, Disney has angered the fan base through the things that they did announce, the things that he's announcing that are being opened. They're replacing Muppets. They're replacing many areas of Frontierland, including Rivers of America. They're putting in IPs that I think are somewhat questionable. But again, I'm not against the IPs themselves or the things they propose. I'm against a lot of it of where it's going. But at the same time, they're taking away perks. They're, again, raising ticket prices again in 2025 when supposedly major, 3 out of the 4 theme parks are going to be under construction during this time period. And just overall, the brand sentiment of Disney is nowhere near what it was 10 years ago. It's not just about attractions. It's also the things that Disney has been doing or hasn't been doing and what Universal has been doing in terms of ingenuity and creativity and driving the theme park market, which I think they're clearly doing. It says how the opening of Epic Universe will impact Walt Disney World still remains to be seen. I'm still not convinced that Disney World won't see an increase in attendance and revenue next year thanks to the bump in tourists that are brought in because of Epic Universe. Again, now that could happen. I'm not saying it won't happen, but again, if you look historically, I just don't see the correlation there that this is just a given that Disney. I know Disney's saying this, so a lot of people are running with it, but obviously we'll have to wait and see. But even if Disney World sees a dip, that's likely to be a short-term problem, and there was very little that Disney World was ever going to be able to do to combat it. Well, they could have announced things 2 or 3 years ago, and then had a lot of these attractions that they announced at D23 this year perhaps be open within 1 to 2 years of Epic Universe opening. But as it stands now, they're likely to give Universal and Epic Universe a good, 3, 4, 5 year run of whatever impact it's going to have on the market without anything from Disney to combat that. It's natural for there to be a little competition between businesses doing the same thing in the same place. Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando Resort will always be competitors. But the fact is that as long as they're both making money, they can both succeed. It's not a zero-sum game. There doesn't need to be a winner. The only real winners are the theme park fans because we get it all. See, I think there should be winners. That's how I'm wired. Now, I agree. It's not a zero-sum game necessarily. And yes, I do agree with more competition. It is, the fans of theme parks, people that like to go to the parks, win through more competition. And, he's talking about the things that, Disney built. But at the same time, Disney has been trying to answer for Universal ever since the Wizarding Worlds opened. I mean, Pandora, Galaxy's Edge, Toy Story Land, even Guardians of the Galaxy. A lot of these rides that have come out that have been, Galaxy's Edge I have issues with. But a lot of these things that open that people have enjoyed are because of the things Universal's been doing. They've been pushing Disney to spend more money and try and do more things in their parks. While at the same time, I think Universal is doing a good job of trying to placate to their fan base. Obviously, they're stepping up their game even more by opening up Epic Universe. And a lot of these people look at Epic Universe and they just think it's just going to be this thing that's a hit for 1 to 2 years, and then everything dies back down and it goes back to how it was. But we did a video a couple of days ago talking about can Universal ever beat Disney? And if you look at the margin of the differences, like how much they're closing that gap in the market, even during a time period where Universal saw a dip in attendance, they were able to close that gap on attendance before Epic Universe opens. I just don't understand this or see a scenario here where Universal has a brand new theme park with all these new attractions and new lands, this high-tech stuff, like everybody's excited for it. And obviously, and Universal still has things inside their existing parks that people are a draw to. I mean, it's been growing with these things in there. And a lot of people want to say that Universal, the existing parks are basically garbage. I don't understand that because they've still been gaining attendance and that closing that gap between Disney and Universal with those theme parks. Now, I do agree they do need to go in and update various areas of Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure, which I believe that they will after Epic Universe opens. But I just don't understand the thinking here with a new theme park adding on, presumably people would even spend more time at Universal, that how Disney would then benefit from that necessarily. Now, when it was the Wizarding World, yes, because Universal, even till now, you could say is a 1 to 2 day destination, depending on how you go about it. If you go to Volcano Bay, all these different things like that. But I think Disney's for sure going to get hit with Animal Kingdom. I think Animal Kingdom is going to see a big drop in attendance. I think the park that would be perhaps affected the least would be Magic Kingdom, because I think if people do, go to Universal that still go over to Disney, would more than likely go over to Magic Kingdom for sure, and then maybe one or two other parks. So you're looking at perhaps a scenario where two of Disney parks, take a pretty big drop in attendance depending on how people tend to go over there, if that's what they end up doing there. So I've seen some of these articles, and I'm not trying to pick on, this was written by Dirk Libby. I'm not trying to pick on him necessarily, but I see this sentiment where Disney essentially doesn't need to do anything because they're Disney and they've been doing all this stuff. But obviously Disney felt they needed to do some stuff considering all the things that they announced at D23. And these things would not have been announced if it was not for Epic Universe. And I know Disney wants to come out and say that we knew about Epic Universe and we're not worried. They have to be worried because, like I've said many times, Disney's best case scenario during this time period where Epic Universe opens and they don't have their stuff that they're going to begin construction on open, their best case scenario is their attendance stays flat, or maybe maybe you see a 1-2% bump, maybe. But even if it stays flat, that's a pretty good scenario for Disney during that time period. Their worst case scenario, though, is a massive drop in attendance. And if that does happen, what is Disney going to do? They don't have any new thing. Again, if they do all these things they're doing in 2025, then that doesn't draw people over, which is shows and parades. They can do these because you can do those pretty quickly. But if that does not boost their attendance, they see a massive drop due to Epic Universe and what Universal's doing, Disney's really not left with many cards to play. They can offer massive discounts. I guess if they get desperate enough, they could bring back some perks that they have taken away. They could bring back Magical Express, the free dining plan. They potentially, on some level, I doubt they would ever do this, but if they get desperate enough, I suppose Fast Passes could make some sort of comeback where those are included with your ticket. But again, during all this going on, the brand damage that Disney has done, the fan sentiment is not what it was. And I forgot to mention earlier, not to mention the DAS changes that Disney has made, where a lot of people feel very betrayed, many people, by Disney with what they've done with the DAS system. Whereas Universal, while not perfect, as they've changed theirs to make it much more accommodating for people. They've made some changes on that end. They're obviously, they do a lot of things for the annual pass holders, obviously a brand new theme park. Their hotels are very reasonably priced. I think they're, even with Epic Universe ticket prices, they're not going to be as expensive as Disney. So even with a brand new theme park, Universal is not as expensive as Disney. And I just think you add all these things up and you have a lot of people, and you can see the comments on this channel, on other channels, and from our podcast listeners, that people don't view the Disney brand like they used to. So even in a scenario where these things are happening in 2025 and these new lands and rides get built by Disney, let's say in a reasonable timeline, it doesn't guarantee that a lot of people are just going to become flocking back to Disney World, because first off, the prices. So who knows where the prices are going to be? We're already pushing essentially at $200 a ticket in 2025 for Magic Kingdom. So they're surely going to be going over that during this time period here. So it's gotten more expensive. The perks have gone away. People don't feel the same about it. And a lot of people are angered by the things that they're taking out to put these new things in. A lot of people are not happy about Muppets being taken away, and they are having a presence in Hollywood Studios, but a lot of people are not happy about that. People are not happy, myself included, with what they're doing with Frontierland, with taking out the rivers of America, and then you're going to have googly-eyed cartoon cars in a Old West frontier setting, which doesn't make any sense to me. A lot of people are still very upset about Tiana's Bayou Adventure in terms of that ride replacing Splash Mountain. And that didn't even get into the maintenance of the parks has been lacking over the years. And again, it's not the same scenario that it was. So I think, yes, I agree. Disney still has the market share. They still are a big player. And no, it's not going to be empty. But I do think that Disney World is worried and should be worried about what Universal is doing, because again, I don't think Epic Universe is where Universal just says, oh, that was great, we're done for a bit. I think that's their launching off point. I think they have all the momentum. They're going to keep going. They're going to keep innovating. I'm loving all the things I'm hearing from Universal's creative team in terms of when they get to talk about this stuff. They seem passionate. They seem invigorated. They seem to love what they do. And we look at what the latest offerings from Disney with Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which some people I know enjoy, but there are some criticisms in terms of that ride's reliability and certain aspects of there being a lot of dead space in that ride. Plus you look at the Epcot overhaul, how underwhelming that has been. You look at even over at Disneyland with the new Haunted Mansion gift shop that essentially looks like a shed. It just seems like Disney's creative side, their Imagineering, is not anywhere what it used to be. And I have doubts about, and because of that, with Disney's new things that they announced, I'm very much, and I think a lot of people are just I will wait and see what it ends up looking like. I don't think, in terms of how Disney's typically gone, I don't think it's going to look like how the concept art initially was shown. There's probably going to be lots of changes there. Are they able to execute on the things that they said they're going to do? So they're under a lot of pressure to deliver on the things that they did announce, because I think a lot of people, especially after the last, couple of D23s, everything was a blue sky thing about stuff they might do. A lot of people have been left thinking, kind of prove it, show it to us that you're going to do this. And if they do pull that off and those lands are great, I'm not saying that it won't be a success, but I don't think it's just a given that people are just going to come flocking back to Disney with all the things that have been going on. So, Disney could, during this time period, do some self-reflection, make some changes, not seem so greedy about trying to just squeeze every dollar out of every guest as they come through those gates. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying it's a possibility, but this is a possibility with the competition from Universal. And again, Universal does not have to beat Disney in terms of market share. They just have to continue to eat into that market share for Disney to feel that. Like I said the other day, Universal is not going to take over Disney World in 5 years. You're talking decade, 10 plus years. If it ever even happens, 10, 20 years down the road, Universal has a shot. But if they were to do it and have a shot at doing it, it is also going to be because of Disney continuing to do the things that they have been doing that, in my opinion, have been basically self-sabotaging and taking for granted their audience and just thinking that they're just always going to be on top. So Disney could, at some point, maybe a new CEO comes in, maybe they feel enough, pain from Epic Universe coming in with the attendance. If it does drop, they could make some changes. And there are some people that would come back to the parks. Though it is very difficult, once a lot of people say I'm not going back, you do lose a segment of people that will never come back. So Disney, in that sense, has damaged themselves in terms of turning certain people off from going on a trip to Disney World again. I definitely think that Disney disagrees. Like the headline here, Disney World fans feel the park isn't doing enough to compete with Epic Universe. Here's why they're wrong. But Disney's actions themselves show that that's not really the case, because all the things that they did announce, all these new things that they're randomly doing this summer with these, most of them being shows and parades. But again, shows and parades are not going to pull people over from Epic Universe. I think that's an attempt to try and stabilize their attendance with their audience to keep them from either not going to Epic Universe or not going too much and still staying in the, the Disney bubble. And, I just think it's one of those things where I like to think of it, trying to be as objective as I can, and just looking at how I do think there has been a major shift in the way people feel about Disney and Universal, especially since 2020. And this is why I always say, from a sports background, momentum is a real thing. Universal has all the momentum right now. Now, that doesn't guarantee they're going to maintain it. Universal could end up doing things that people don't like, and they could shift that. But for the time being, they do have all the momentum. They have a lot of hype. They have a lot of more people feeling good about their brand versus Disney. And again, with Disney being slow on construction timelines, and we're already seeing issues with these permits being filed that the state is not approving them right away. Potentially, you got some major changes they'd have to make to the permit for Frontierland and over there in Rivers of America. So these things that they did announce are not even guaranteed to be approved at how Disney is wanting them to build them. And they haven't even started construction on these things. So I think these timelines get stretched out. And I think Universal and Epic Universe have a clear path of having a major impact on the theme park market in Orlando. And if the economy opens up a bit, people go on more trips, obviously that's going to help Universal. And that will likely help Disney as well if that scenario takes place. But if a lot of people are still not going on vacation as much, they're being more frugal with their money, a lot of these people are going to choose a little bit more cautiously about where they spend their vacation dollars. And I just think a lot more people are going to splurge perhaps on a trip to a brand new theme park, and that maybe not include going over to Disney as well. Now, of course, if the economy opens up a little bit, people may splurge and go to both places. And I'm not saying to have all the answers here. Obviously, there's multiple ways this could go out. I'm very interested to watch all this and see how it plays out, because like I said, at the end, the customer wins in this with more competition. But I definitely think the landscape of the theme park, market in Orlando is definitely changing and is not going to go back to how it was, because Universal is not going to go back to how they were even a decade ago. They're going to continue to build on what they're doing. And if they can stack decades and decades of success on what they've been doing, they're going to continue to close that gap with Disney. And at some point, it's either going to force Disney to make changes, kind of going back to the things that they used to do, or Disney will continue to surrender market share to Universal, at least in my opinion here. But either way, whether he's right or I'm right or you're right, we'll have to wait and see how all this ends up shaking out. But either way, that's going to be it though for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about this? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.